It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the annual Hospital Sabbath. You might have noticed Hospital Sabbath looks a little different this year. Instead of looking at your beautiful faces, I am staring at a camera. Meetings and worship services that were once face-to-face have gone virtual. It seems to be one of our many new normals. This year hasn't been an easy one. Quite frankly, it's been a tough one. It's been one of our toughest years. However, in the midst of it all, one thing remains unchanged: God's continual mercy and love. We are so grateful for God's faithfulness. We thank Him that even though we may not physically be together, we can still worship as one family. I've seen God's hand at work this year. We could not be where we are today had it not been for His strength that empowered our frontline staff, His wisdom that guides our leadership, and His love that flows out, not just through our chaplains, but through all of you, our community, and you have never stopped supporting us. That's why we are here today, to praise Him, worship Him, and thank Him, together as a family for His goodness. We are blessed to have with us some amazing people who will elevate us in worship. First, we have popular Cuban-American Christian recording artist, Ricardo Rodriguez. We also have with us singer-songwriter and lead vocalist for the Heritage Singers, Scott Reed. And of course, we have our friend and longstanding partner of Hospital Sabbath, Sam Ocampo. Finally, we will be uplifted through a short message by our Adventist Health Administrative Director of Spiritual Care, Pastor Sam Leonor. So welcome. May you be blessed and encouraged with our songs sung and the words spoken throughout this service. Welcome to Hospital Sabbath.
Hello and happy Sabbath. We are glad to be worshiping with you today.
Yes, even a pandemic can't stop us from celebrating our tradition of Hospital Sabbath and also coming together as a church family.
Please join us as we open God's Word. We will be reading from two different texts.
First, I'll read from Psalms 46, verses 1 to 3 from my great-grandmother's Bible.
Then, please follow along as I'll read from John 14:7.
God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging.
Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid.
May God bless the reading of His Word.
Hello, church family, members of the community, and fellow associates. It is my pleasure to stand before you today as we lift ourselves up in prayer. Please go ahead and bow your heads as we speak to our Father. Dear, kind, gracious, and heavenly Father, we come before you today with hearts overflowing with praise and gratitude. You are great and mighty, good, kind, and true. Every day you show us your power and your love. Through this tumultuous year of much fear and anxiety, you, Lord, have not left our side. We thank you for the abundant blessings you bestow on us every day in our church, in our hospital, and in our community. We thank you that in uncertainty, you are steadfast. We thank you for giving our hospital an opportunity to serve, especially in such a time as this. We thank you for the doctors and nurses and healthcare heroes that willingly sacrifice their own health to selflessly care and serve our community. In turn, we thank you for the men and women of our community who have rallied together in support of each other and our hospital. You have shown us, Lord, that your people are here, living as your Son did, serving and loving one another. We pray, Lord, that you send showers of blessing to everyone watching today. Bless them with hope. Replace fear with your unwavering love. We pray for strength and courage for our heroes on the front lines, that they may feel your peace wash over them and newly refreshed to continue their service and fight on the battlegrounds of the hospital. We pray for our church and our community that they never turn their face from you, for you are the beacon of light in this period of darkness. Finally, we pray that you bless our humble worship service, that it may lift your name up high. May Pastor Sam Lenore's words come from your throne to touch our hearts and engage our minds. We love you and thank you for hearing and answering our prayers. All these things we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Greetings to all, and happy Sabbath. I'm so glad to be here today celebrating Sabbath with you and listening to some very beautiful music and listening to the Word of God as well. You know, this is the 10th time we do this together. We started this 10 years ago, and this is one of my favorite events because we have our leadership team, our executives, we have our physicians, our associates and employees here, and the church members also, all together celebrating the Sabbath. And we wait for it every year. You know, the relationship between White Memorial Church and the White Memorial Hospital goes back over 100 years. I tell people that come and work at our hospital, listen, when you come and join our hospital, the first thing you see is the dome of the church. Then you see the hospital, and then you walk one street over and you'll see our elementary school. And that's a testament to treating the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. And over the last 100 years, we're focused on our mission of attending to the whole person care. And together, we were on the same mission over the years. Well, we've been through a lot over the years, over the last 100 years. Well, back in 1918, we had the Spanish flu that hit our country, and many people lost their lives. And we were subjected to very similar circumstances to what we have going on today. But the church and the hospital pulled together, and we served the patients. We attended to the people that needed medical care, and we attended the people that needed spiritual care, and we also helped with food and clothing, and we helped in our community. The church and the hospital together were here to support our community. And here we are in 2020. And here we are with COVID-19, the coronavirus. So history repeats itself. And the hospital has done everything in our power that we can to deliver the best care we can deliver to our community. We connected with our hospitals throughout the whole world, in China, in Korea, in Taiwan, and we learned from people that have gone through this before us. And we tried to adjust our medical care. We tried to deliver the best care that we could deliver. But again, our community financially got struck very hard. Economically, they got struck. People are suffering. So with our church, along with you folks, we distributed over 150,000 meals to our community. We've partnered with a lot of community partners, and together we're able to pull this together. We gave backpacks to school kids. We gave masks, and we gave food packages and fruits and vegetables to our community as well. So our journey really is a journey of faith and healing. So folks, in the words of our founder, Ellen G. White, she said, "We have nothing to fear lest we forget how the Lord has led us in the past. And God will lead us in the future, because our mission is always living God's love by inspiring health, wholeness, and hope." Today and every day we give thanks to the Lord. We thank Him for His providence, for helping us. And also, I want to thank you folks for all the work that you're doing. I thank White Memorial Church for the work that you're doing in our community. And I look forward to continue to work with our church for many more years to come to serve our community the way the Lord wants us to do it. Thank you very much.
Hello, this is Sam Ocampo. One more time, I'd like to welcome you to the Hospital Sabbath 2020, sponsored by Adventist Health, White Memorial. On behalf of the Sam Ocampo Voices, Scott Reed, Ricardo Rodriguez, and the hundreds of musicians that have played on the studio recordings on these sounds that we're going to hear, we want to thank you, and we want to wish you a wonderful hour together.
You were the Word in the beginning, one with God, the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you, our Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is.
in the morning when I wake up and remember, a quiet prayer to Thee up to the hills I'd render. Lord, in the morning in an all alone surrender, my voice to Thee in gentle plea I'd always tender. These precious memories make the heart grow fonder of days gone by, elusive dreams of yonder. Oh, precious memories, let me stop and ponder. Could I go back to Thee again, I wonder?
Because one day I lost my way, maybe September. Beautiful faces, empty places in December.
Bright city lights and crazy nights in hopeless splendor. I've traveled on this lonely road, now I surrender. Lord, then I heard Thy whispering voice from heaven. Lift up your cross to me, I'll leave you never. Thy love and grace have made me whole forever. Faithful to Thee I'll always be forever.
Por la mañana yo dirijo mi alabanza a Dios que ha sido y es mi única esperanza. Por la mañana yo le invoco con el alma y le suplico que me dé su dulce calma.
Lord, then I heard Thy whispering voice from heaven.
Lift up your cross to me, I'll leave you never.
Thy love and grace have made me whole forever.
Faithful to Thee I'll always be forever.
Thy love and grace have made me whole forever. Faithful to Thee I'll always be forever.
Welcome to virtual Hospital Sabbath. White Memorial Medical Center has been a proud partner with White Memorial Adventist Church for many years. White Memorial Church has two schools that they sponsor. One is the local church school, White Memorial Adventist School here on campus, and the other is San Gabriel Adventist Academy. They make considerable contributions to support student education at these two schools, and we are asking you to donate to help that project. The way to donate is to log on to www.thewhite.org. There is a donation button that you can push and enter your contribution. I invite you to pray with me as we ask for the Lord's blessing on this offering. Father in heaven, we thank you for caring for us during this time. We pray that you will continue to bless us. Bless this offering that it may be multiplied and be able to help students that want to get a Christian education, attend your schools, and learn about you. We ask in thy name, amen. Thank you very much.
us the reason to live. We are the reason that He gave His life.
It is my honor as president of Adventist Health White Memorial to present this year's Christian Service Award. The recipient of this award must have demonstrated over a significant period of time dedication to our mission of living God's love. It's been said about this year's awardee that he has for some time and continues to put his whole heart and soul into our community, his profession, and his faith. It gives me great pleasure to present this year's Christian Service Award to Dr. Brian Johnston. Dr. Johnston began his life right here in Los Angeles. Shortly after that, his family was subjected to the injustice of the McCarthy era as his parents were blacklisted. In search for work, they moved to Mexico. It was growing up there as a child that Brian gained an appreciation for humble village life. University brought Brian back to Los Angeles. Then after graduating from UCLA with a degree in theater arts, yes, theater arts, following in his parents' footsteps and profession, he joined the Peace Corps. Treating cholera patients in the Philippines during this time brought Brian to his true calling and his love of medicine. UC San Francisco Medical School was followed by residency at UCLA in internal medicine. But back in his hometown for the third time, he decided to stay. Dr. Brian Johnston's first day at White Memorial was April's Fool's Day in 1975. Steeped in a passion to serve the needy and fight injustice, Dr. Johnston dedicated his life here for supporting the people of Boyle Heights. He inaugurated our frequent visits under the bridges, bringing food, clothes, and medicine to our homeless neighbors. Knowing that our local gang members needed help, he was a key ally in White Memorial's partnership with Father Boyle, the founder of Homeboy Industries, bringing support and a way out for gang members in our neighborhood. Dr. Johnston's mission work also expanded across the globe to Zambia, and I had the pleasure to serve with him in Zambia as well. Our first trip was in 2009. We worked together to rebuild the Adventist School and Hospital. This relationship with the Maui Hospital has grown strong over the years and led to several more mission trips. This is only a brief mention in Dr. Johnston's many accomplishments and adventures. I could go on, but it's time for us now to hear from Dr. Johnston himself. Dr. Johnston, thank you for the good work you do. Thank you for the work you do for our community here in East Los Angeles and Boyle Heights, and the work you do around the world. You've really been a blessing to us here and blessing to us around the world. Thank you so much for your good work.
Thank you, John. Deeply appreciate it, and I'm honored. I must say, however, that I'm not really fully comfortable accepting it just for myself. I think there are a lot of people at this hospital who do much the same work, and they do it much in the same way, and they do it for the same reason, which is out of love and respect for our fellow human beings, recognizing that there's that of God in every one of us. I accept the award, but I also want to draw attention to all the people who work here at every level, whether it's in finance or food service or EVS or nurses or doctors, laboratory people, all the people here who put their heart and their love in their work and put patients first. I think it makes this a very strong institution. I think a spiritual base in medicine is critical. And I think it brings meaning to my life and to the lives of many other people here. And so I accept the award, but I also say it's for everybody, and it's for a very good reason. It reminds us of what we do and why we do it. So thank you very much.
We lost Andre Crouch a few years ago, one of the best composers of Christian religious music. This is one of our favorite songs, Through It All.
Through it all, through
I've been to a lot of places, and I've seen a lot of faces, but there were times when I felt so all alone. Oh, but there in my lonely hour, my precious lonely hour, Jesus let me know that I was his own. I thank God for the mountains, and I thank Him for the valleys, and I thank Him for the storms that He brought me through. For if I never had a problem, I'd never known that He could solve them. I'd never know what faith in my God can do. Through it all, through it all, oh, I've learned trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Oh, through it all, through it all, through it all. Oh, I've learned to depend upon His word. Yes, I've learned to depend upon His word.
God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. I can't think of a better word for us today. A better word for us to hear in these days that have been difficult. You don't have to be involved in healthcare or supporting it to know that there are days when it can feel like there's no hope, and it's easy to lose heart. So we need to hear this word from the writer of the Psalms. One great paraphrase, which is just a rewriting of the Bible in current language. This paraphrase puts it this way: God is a safe place to hide, ready to help when we need Him. We stand fearless at the cliff edge of doom, courageous in sea storm and earthquake, before the rush and roar of oceans, the tremors that shift mountains. God is a safe place to hide. There's a couple of things that I love about this, and a couple of things I want to point out. First, and most important, God does not say, and God does not promise, that we will never face trouble, trials, or difficulties. We have never been promised by God that we'll never experience heartache or loss. People who believe that are discouraged when heartache and loss happens, because we think that God has never promised that has always promised that we'll never face those. God has never promised that we will never get sick. God didn't promise that those who trust Him will sail through life without any harm coming to them or their families. That because you have been faithful, you will only and always be blessed with health, prosperity, and the admiration of everyone around you. Life will be hard. There is no doubt, my friends. The psalmist says, God is with us in the midst of trouble. God is going to be with us through the trouble, not just get us out of the trouble. He's going to be with us through it. The psalmist also doesn't say that God gives us the trials, that God causes the pain, that God inflicts the suffering. The psalmist doesn't say that God causes pandemics or abuse or wars or natural disasters like tornadoes and earthquakes, fires. God doesn't cause financial ruin on people. This would be like saying, God gave you this horrible, painful, and hurtful thing that you're living through right now, but He will stop giving you more suffering right before your breaking point, so you don't have to worry about it. Just suffer. God knows exactly when to stop this suffering. It tells me God permits trials according to my ability to endure. But that's not actually what God says in Scripture to us. I know that some of us have heard this very important text from the Bible that says that God will not permit things to go beyond our breaking point. But that's not what that text is about. That is something completely different. It is about temptation and about resisting evil. But suffering, pandemics, abuse, natural disasters, God does not cause that to happen on His beloved creation. That's not what the Bible is saying. That's not what the psalmist is saying. So let me say it outright in case you have not heard it. Where pain and suffering are concerned, I do not believe that God does that. The Bible is full of stories of people who suffered. And the Bible has a lot of people who wish God would bring suffering into the lives of other people. Yes. But what the Bible is not full of is people asking God to send more suffering their way on or onto their families. What does the psalm actually promise then? The psalm promises God is with us. We're not alone. He's our refuge. The promise of the Bible is not that we won't suffer, it is that God will be with us in our suffering, that God suffers with us, and that God will give us the strength to endure the toughest moments of our lives. It is not that God is testing us by bringing bad things into our lives. Instead, I trust that when bad things happen during the course of our lives, that God will sustain us, God will walk with us, God will hold us, and God will comfort us. Those are the promises that bring hope. Those are the promises that help us to get through these difficult days we're living in. John, one of the first followers of Jesus, and the author of one of the Gospels, the stories of Jesus, he describes the coming of Jesus this way: God became flesh and made His dwelling with us. It invokes this language from earlier stories in the Bible that describe God moving into the neighborhood and setting up His tent next to ours. And in doing so, God became exposed to the infirmities and the viruses and the bacteria everything that makes us humans fragile and frail. Jesus lived all that with us. I find this to be the most profound of all the signs and wonders, that God is with us. Yes, there would eventually be stories of healing and parables and the hope of coming deliverance in the future. But first, on God's agenda, is addressing what I believe is the deepest longing of the human heart, to know that we're not alone. Maybe this is why these words, I will be with you, they're found in Scripture as many times or as often as I will deliver you. God is with us. He is our refuge and our strength. These are the words that give us comfort and hope and courage. When my son was about a year old, he learned a trick. He learned to get out of his crib at night. If you're a parent, you know, sometimes when our kids learn how to escape from the crib, things get really interesting. It was fascinating to watch him do it. It was like a bit of a circus act. He would stretch like a little circus acrobat. He would stretch his little leg up over the edge of the railing of the crib, and with a lot of effort, he would pull as hard as he could, and he would drop to the ground, sometimes not really gracefully, but he would land, he would gather himself, and then he would look around as if to say, I'm free. And you could tell he was so proud of himself, like he had escaped from a jail that we had unjustly thrown him in. Each night, we would put him in his crib, and I would have a stern talk with him. I would say, listen, you stay in this crib, you understand? He would nod, but we knew he was already plotting his escape. One night, we put him in his crib. Because it was a nice evening, we left his window open, and I had my usual talk with him. Hey, stay in this crib. He nodded. And then in the middle of the night, a massive storm came through, complete with lightning and thunder and wind and rain. It was rare for where we lived, so much so that I'm sure that this 1-year-old, in his entire 1-year life, had never heard or seen anything like it. And then something worse happened. The temperature dropped pretty dramatically. I can imagine he woke up in the middle of the night, hearing thunder, seeing lightning, wind blowing through the open window, and then suddenly feeling really cold. No doubt he was scared to death of what was happening around him. So he did his little circus act, is how I remember or I imagined this, his little escape trick, broke out of his jail crib, and he came to the place where he knew he could find safety and warmth, where he knew there would be someone bigger and wiser and stronger that could be his refuge, that would care for him. He came to my side of the bed, and then he stood there, scared. Lightning struck, and I saw him standing there next to my bed. And I remember grabbing him and holding him close. He was shaking and shivering. His little body was cold. And as he warmed up under the covers next to me, he fell asleep. I could not make the storm stop outside, but I could help him get through this difficult night, not over it, but through this difficult night. I could help him get through this frightening thing he was experiencing. As a 1-year-old, he didn't have the capacity to understand everything happening. What causes storms? Why wind and lightning and thunder made him afraid? He didn't understand the laws of physics and weather patterns. All he knew was that this night, I am cold and afraid, and the man who put me in the crib at night, he will take care of me. We're living through a difficult, stormy night, aren't we? A pandemic we don't understand, ravaging the world, fires burning, seemingly out of control, an unprecedented financial crisis, social unrest and division. Most of us have never seen anything like this. It's left many of us feeling cold and afraid and wondering if there's any hope. And where is God in all of this? What God has promised is a lot like what my son found that night at my side as I held him. As I held him and brought him back to warmth, and he felt a sense of peace. We're not alone. We're held, cradled, loved, and cherished by a benevolent God who understands and cares about our struggles, and he cares about everything we're facing. The storms are going to rage. God is with us. Thunder and lightning will strike. God is with us. Fires will rage. God is with us. Pandemics will spread. God is with us. We're cradled in his safe and loving arms. If you're feeling cold and weary and tired and feeling hopeless, God offers you warmth and hope and courage and a promise that we will get through, not over, but we'll get through it together and with him being held by his arms. As the writer of the psalm put it so beautifully, a psalmist who must have lived through his own difficult night, you could tell by reading this psalm, as he put it, God is our refuge and strength in ever-present help. May that be in our hearts, in our souls, as we face the days ahead with hope and confidence that we are being held by a loving and merciful God. Amen.
Our everlasting Father, you are our source of healing and strength. Grant us your peace, that peace that transcends all understanding. Please, Lord, bless us. Bless Adventist Health White Memorial Medical Center so we can be a beacon of your love to bless the communities we serve. Amen.